Hey there, guys. How about another day of RUXMAS? I think what I want to do today is read some stories to you guys, some winter-related stories. I would prefer to do this in like a comfy rocking chair next to a fireplace. I think that would get us in the holiday mood, but I'm not that classy. So instead we have this green fuzzy chair and just a bunch of candles. This one's supposed to be hot chocolate. We have two books for you today. The first one that we have is called A Surprise Visitor.
Open the book to page 1.
One very cold and snowy day, the woolly Whatsit invited Teddy Ruxpin and Newton Gimmick to supper. Grubby and Fuzz the Fob were going too. I don't know why it wrote it like they were an afterthought. Woolly went out to meet them as the airship came into land, but when they jumped down, they found themselves chin deep in a snowdrift.
Good of you to drop in!
Joked Woolly, as he scooped them up and carried them to his house. Aw. Suddenly, an eerie cry of oh, sorry. No, it specifically is an eerie cry of burr, 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 wah, ha, ha. Which is even creepier. Little maniacal laughter there on the end. An eerie cry of of burr, ha, 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 came echoing on the wind. What's that noise? Asked Teddy nervously. It's only the wind, Gimmick explained.
Then it was a very big wind,
answered Grubby, and Fuzz the Fob added, very big indeed! Woolly led the others indoors, where it was warm and cozy. Grubby was still outside on the doorstep, my poor boy, taking off the last of his 6 snow boots. Once again, the same eerie sound came echoing across the snow. Grubby came crashing in through the door with his arms and legs in a terrible tangle. As he fell flat on his face, he cried,
Whoa! Did you hear that? There's something outside and it sounds awfully big.
There's nothing out there, said Gimmick. People often think they can see strange things during winter storms. Some people even imagine they can see giant snowzos. What do snowzos look like? Squeaked Fuzz. Nothing, replied Gimmick, because they don't exist. But Teddy and his friends didn't seem too sure. They were all thinking about that strange cry. Brrr! Wah-ha-ha. Woolly cooked them all a delicious supper. Everyone enjoyed it so much that they soon forgot about snowzos until there was a loud knock at the door. Everyone except Gimmick dived for cover. Shouldn't it be dove? But it was only 3 cold and very frightened fobs. We heard a snowzo in the forest, they cried. Ooh, Gimmick is giving side eye to that fob. But Gimmick said again, there are no such thing as snowzos. Yet when there was another loud knocking at the door, they all took cover, just in case Gimmick was wrong. Oh, it was just Gramps and Wiggs Woggly. They were frightened because they'd seen a snowzo in the forest.
It was big and furry, said Gramps. It looked like a giant snowman with a beard.
Aren't they supposed to rhyme? Isn't that their thing? Scared the rhyme right out of them. Oh, nonsense, said Gimmick. It was probably just a pile of snow.
Sure, Jan.
Besides, Woolly is big and strong. He would protect us from snowzos, if there were such creatures. But Woolly was hiding under the table. Grubby, the Fobs, Teddy, and the Wogglies soon joined him there. Everyone began to feel much more cheerful when Woolly brought them mugs of hot grundleberry juice to drink in front of the fire. Wait, did they all just get out from under the table that quick? But when they ran out of firewood, no one wanted to go outside and fetch some more. At last, Teddy and Woolly offered to get the logs. In the garden, a cold wind whipped the snow into whirls and swirls. Really? Now that sounds like a Woggly line. Teddy and Wooly couldn't see where they were going. They didn't realize that they were on different paths. Nor did they realize that something large and white, with floppy hair, was following Teddy. When Teddy reached the woodpile, the white furry creature came to a halt behind him. Teddy thought that the creature was Wooly, covered in snow from head to toe. In no time at all, they had collected a big pile of logs and marched back towards the house. Teddy thought that Wooly was joking when he heard him call,
Have you found the woodpile yet, Teddy?
Gimmick, Grubby, the Fobs, and the Wogglies were all delighted to see Teddy and the large white creature.
Oh, Wooly, cried Grubby, you're all covered in snow.
But when he tried to brush away the snow, it wouldn't come off. Just then, the door opened and in walked the real Wooly! Everyone looked at Wooly, then they looked at the giant creature with the floppy hair. Gimmick gulped. If this creature isn't Wooly, then he must be a Snowzo! Yelped the others as they dived for cover. But the Snowzo was friendly. He explained that Snowzos usually live far away in the northern land of Ying and only come south during very cold and snowy winters.
Your voice is just like Wooly's,
said Teddy.
You even look like Wooly, except that he's purple and you're white.
The Snowzo gazed at Wooly and said,
We have a legend about a young Snowzo who wandered away from the mountain and was never seen again. Wooly might be that Snowzo!
Teddy and his friends gasped. Was Wooly a Snowzo? Indeed, Wooly had never been sure where he'd come from. So Wooly might well be the Snowzo's long-lost cousin. He was thrilled at the idea of having a family.
Oh.
Excuse me, Teddy said to the Snowzo. You said we have a legend. Are there lots of Snowzos?
There certainly are,
answered the Snowzo. He moved over to the door and threw it open. Wahaha! He cried. Why'd they add the wahaha? One by one, Snowzos began popping up all over the garden. Some were young, some were old, but all were white with floppy hair, and they all looked like Wooly. Teddy and his friends went out into the garden to meet them. The Snowzos were amazed when they saw Wooly.
Just fancy,
they kept exclaiming.
A purple Snowzo! Whoever would have thought of such a thing?
Wooly wanted to know all about the land of Ying and promised to visit his long-lost cousins as soon as the weather got warmer. There's a picture of Grubby shaking all of their hands at once with like one of his feet and both of his arms. All too soon it was time for the Snowzos to return home. Teddy and his friends watched them disappear northwards towards the mountains.
Well,
said Grubby as they turned back to the house.
I've learned something new today.
What's that, Grubby? Asked Teddy.
I know why Snowzos say brr
brr wahaha, replied Grubby. Please enlighten me, Grubby. Alright. Why do they say brr 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 wahaha? Said Teddy.
It's just their way of saying I'm so cold.
What a zinger! Oh my god! And laughing happily, the friends went back inside Wooly's cozy house. Never again would any of them be afraid of the Snowzos. Alright, so that was book number 1. Now we're gonna move on to our second book, Adventure in the Snow, which is sponsored by Quaker Oats. Sponsor me, Quaker Oats, for absolutely no reason at all. This is one of those things where you bought a certain amount of oatmeal and then sent in like box tops and get yourself a little book. The tagline for this is, "This story shows that with practice and a good breakfast, you can come out a winner."
No part of this book may be reproduced or utilized in any form or by any means, electronic or mechanical, including photocopying, or by any information storage and retrieval system without the prior written permission of either Alchemy 2 Inc. and the Quaker Oats Company.
Okay, well, don't sue me, Quaker Oats. Just sponsor me. Alright, let's get to reading. Before I get sued. It was a very cold winter day in Grundo. It was also the day of the great sled race, and everyone in Grundo was excited.
Come on, Teddy. Come on, Gimmick.
Shouted Grubby.
We gotta get out there and practice.
Don't worry, Grubby, Teddy said. We practiced a lot yesterday. And, besides, we haven't had our breakfast yet. Add Gimmick. I'm a lot of things and I'm a lovely person, but a voice actor I am not. Teddy and Gimmick told Grubby that a warm breakfast can give you lots of energy in the morning. They told him that? I feel like if any of them knows that, it's Grubby. And it's cold outside. This hot oatmeal will warm you up. So Grubby sat down at the table with Teddy and Gimmick, and they all had a nice hot breakfast. But not everyone was having a good breakfast that morning.
I'm hungry, Tweez.
LB the Bounder complained.
Can't we eat breakfast first? No time, LB,
Twig replied.
We've gotta win that sled race. And I know only one way to do it. Practice tweet. No, LB. Cheat. And the name is Twig. Twig!
So LB followed Twig to Rainbow Falls where the race would begin.
Help me with these sleds, LB,
Twig demanded. The sleds had been left at the falls overnight, so they would be ready for the race in the morning. One by one, Twig and LB dipped the sleds into the water beneath Rainbow Falls. Then they threw the sleds on top of each other into a big pile.
Now they'll never win the race, and we will come in first,
said Twig.
Good idea, Tweep. These sleds are starting to freeze already,
replied LB. By this time, all of Teddy's friends in Grundo had eaten a hot breakfast, and they had tons of energy.
Well, I feel great, fellas. Thanks for suggesting breakfast,
Grubby said as if he wasn't already gonna eat like 30 pounds worth.
Now let's go win that race.
Everyone met at Rainbow Falls to get their sleds. What happened? Cried the Anythings. The sleds were now a giant sledsicle. Well, who would do a mean thing like that? Asked Teddy. Twig! They all shouted. We'll never get them apart, cried the Fobs.
Brrr!
Cried Woolly.
Are you cold?
Asked Teddy.
No, I'm mad!
That's a mood. Then with his bare hands, the Woolly Whatsit pulled the frozen sleds apart from each other. Oh no! They're still covered with ice. What do we do now? The Anythings cried.
We do our best,
answered Teddy. We do our best. Come on, we've got to line up at the starting line. The race is about to begin. Quaker Oats makes you very determined. Even in hardships. Sponsor me.
We've got to win this race,
said Grubby.
We've got to show that old Twig that a little ice can't stop us.
Twig and LB were feeling pretty sure that they'd win.
Those sleds won't be any good to them now, said Twig. They'll hardly move. I can hardly move, Tweesh. I'm hungry and tired.
Then the race started with a bang! Away they all raced down the hill. Teddy and Gimmick sat on their sled while Grubby gave it a push. Push faster, Grubby, you can do it, shouted Teddy. Grubby jumped on behind Gimmick. Whee! They all shouted.
Hey, how come those guys are going so fast?
Asked Twig. That's when Twig noticed that his plan hadn't worked at all. In fact, the ice that had formed on the runners made the sleds race even faster. Then the Woolly Whatsit raced right past them.
Hey, this is great!
Shouted Woolly on his sled.
Look out below!
We're right behind you, Woolly! Cried the Fobs. The racers skimmed down the hill on their sleds, while Twig and LB sat at the top of the hill. Poor LB. He was so tired, he could hardly push Twig's sled.
I'm tired, Tweet, he moaned, and I'm hungry.
For Quaker Oats. LB grabbed hold of the sled, and together he and Twig raced down the hill behind the others.
Lean, LB, lean!
Cried Twig. Teddy, Grubby, and Gimmick passed one racer after another. Come on, lean forward, everyone! Teddy cried. And then Teddy and his team crossed the finish line first! Oh my god! Hooray, hooray for Teddy, Grubby, and Gimmick, everyone shouted.
Good race!
Said Wooly as he patted Teddy on the back. Twig and LB finished last.
Now can we eat, Twig?
LB asked.
Oh, how can you think about food?
Twig asked sadly.
We lost.
Look, look! Cried the fobs, pointing with their feet, I guess, or their tails. Everyone looked back up the hill and saw the most beautiful sight. The ice on the sleds had melted and left rainbow-colored tracks in the snow. That ice came from Rainbow Falls, said Gimmick. That's why the tracks were so colorful. Everyone cheered at the pretty sight. Hooray! It's so wholesome. Then Teddy was asked to say a few words. Of course he was. Speech! Speech! Ooh, ooh, ooh. They all shouted. Well, Teddy began, I couldn't have done it without my friends Grubby and Newton Gimmick. We're a team, and we practiced.
And it also helped to have a hot breakfast,
Grubby added. Teddy and Gimmick smiled. So Teddy Ruxpin and his friends won the great sled race. And that afternoon, Twig and LB went home and began getting ready for the next year's race. A whole year in advance. How will they cheat next time?
Eat more oatmeal. Eat more hot oatmeal, LB. A good breakfast worked for those guys. Keep eating! Keep eating! My pleasure, Twig,
LB said, and he ate up every warm mouthful. Then Twig moaned,
The name is Twig. Twig!
I'm hungry.
Well, all this talk about oatmeal looks like it's got Grubby hungry.
Come and get your oatmeal.
Oh, some good oatmeal. Good oatmeal.
Good oatmeal? Haven't you ever tasted that stuff?
Oh, yeah? Gimmick, you dropped your monkey wrench in my oatmeal.
Grubby, why must you be so messy? You could have ruined this fine precision...
Dudes! Can't we all just get along and enjoy some Quaker Oats? I hope that you guys enjoyed these little winter-esque stories. And I hope that you eat some oatmeal when you get the chance, because it'll make you super determined and you'll win every race and you'll have a positive attitude, etc., etc. You will be the full embodiment of Teddy Ruxpin. So eat oatmeal. Tag me in your pictures of oatmeal.